Hey guitar fanatics, here's a serious question. If one of the greatest guitarists of all time just handed you one of his secrets to greatness, would you take it? Would you even use it? Because the amazing Derek Trucks did just that in a podcast that I listened to recently. He shared with us all the process that he went through to master the fretboard and fretboard visualization. But it's kind of a loaded question, right? Especially if you were told this will make you great, but it's going to take a lot of work on your part. In this video, I'm going to get into that secret that Derek revealed. And I'm going to show you 3 related concepts that are going to help you really nail down your fretboard knowledge and take your level of comfort and familiarity with the guitar to a whole new level. So let's get into it and play some guitar. So if you've watched any of my stuff here on YouTube, you know that my focus is making videos with what I hope are fresh, fun, and innovative ways to build both the fundamentals and more advanced guitar playing skills. I get a lot of great comments from people saying that a certain topic or concept really helped them move forward and make a breakthrough. But I also get a fair share of comments from people that seem almost offended that what I teach is going to make them have to work to improve their guitar playing. And this is why I get so excited when I see Derek Trucks, who is a player that I admire deeply, talk about his process for really learning the fretboard. A lot of people look at a guy like Derek and think things like, man, his uncle was in the Allman Brothers, music is in his blood. Or that dude just has God-given talent, that's the only way to play that good. And then you get it from Derek himself that his greatness is the result of a ridiculous amount of study, dedication, and effort. Well, to me, that's inspiring because it means that we can all get better by doing the work. And I know not everybody wants to be a rock star or even a gigging musician, but I do believe that we all want to get better. And we can all use Derek's process, even if we don't want to go to the links that he took it. So let me explain quickly what Derek did and give you 3 related ways that you can more easily understand and navigate the fretboard. So back in the day, Derek was in a band called Frogwings, and the other guitarist in that band was the great Jimmy Herring. Now, Jimmy is an absolute master with a style that blends jazz and blues with southern rock. At the time, Derek was in the process of converting his ideas to open E tuning. Now, Jimmy Herring is a real student of music and apparently a great bandmate, because he offered to help Derek map out all sorts of musical concepts in open E tuning. Derek says that over a period of time, they filled up multiple notebooks of various chords, modes, and concepts, and everywhere that they can be played on the neck in open E. Derek said while the process was tedious, and to quote him, it opened up that whole world for me. What makes that so incredible is at the time, Derek was already an accomplished and respected pro guitarist, but he wanted to be truly great and he kept working and striving toward that goal. Now, the goals that you and I might have may not be that lofty, but I do have some ideas of things that you can put to use pretty quickly to help you better understand how the guitar neck works and to make it far easier to get around the fretboard. Let's start with some triad shapes that are going to teach you the repeating nature of the guitar fretboard. Let's go. Triads are made up of 3 notes. To play a major triad, we start with a root note. Let's use G at the 3rd fret of the low E string. The G major scale has the notes G, A, B, C, D, E, and F sharp. And we can also call those notes the root, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and the 7th. And to get our major triad, we're going to play the root, skip the 2nd, and play the 3rd or B. Then we skip the 4th, and we're going to play the 5th or D. So a G major triad has the notes G, B, and D. And here's what I want you to learn and be able to visualize. If we play those notes on 2 strings, we can get this shape. We've got G and B on the low E at frets 3 and 7, and we've got D on the A string at fret 5. And here's what can open up the fretboard for you. Starting at that G note at the 3rd fret of the low E, if I go over 2 strings to the D string and up 2 frets to fret 5, I've got another G note and I can play the exact same shape on the D and G strings. frets 5 and 9 of the D string, and fret 7 of the G string. And then I go back to that G on the D string. If I go over 2 strings again to the B string, and this time I've got to go up 3 frets because of the way the B string is tuned, I get this same shape with G and B at frets 8 and 12 of the B string, and D at fret 10 of the high E. What the takeaway should be, there's a repeating nature to the guitar fretboard that once we understand, we can use to easily move our ideas around and play them all over the neck. Now, we just played a major triad shape in 3 octaves ascending. Let's use another shape, but the same system, to play that G triad in 3 octaves descending. We're going to go up to the G at the 15th fret of the high E string, and then we're going to play the D and B notes at frets 15 and 12 of the B string. So we're playing the notes in a different order, but it's the same 3 notes. We're going to, starting at that G on the high E string, we shift over 2 strings to the G string, down 3 frets to the 12th fret, we've got another G note. Using the same shape, we've got the D and B notes at frets 12 and 9 of the D string. We're going to shift over 2 strings from that G at the 12th fret, so that's the A string. Shift down to fret 10, and we've got another G. And then on frets 10 and 7 of the low E, that gives us our D and B notes. Put it all together, and we have our descending G major triad in 3 octaves. And we can get back to the G at the low E we started on. We can also put the ascending and descending shapes together to get this pattern that covers the majority of the fretboard. Very cool. I'm guessing this could be an aha moment for some of you. I know I'd been playing for several years before I discovered how the fretboard repeats and how we can take the exact same shapes and move them around the neck to different places. If we wanted to play a G minor triad, all we need to do is flatten the 3rd from B to B flat. That gives us this shape ascending. And this shape descending. But the rule still applies. There are obviously multiple triad shapes we can play. Let's try this one for G major with the G at fret 3 of the low E string and the B and D notes at frets 2 and 5 of the A string. Because it's going to become a building block for our next concept. Here it is on the E and A strings, the D and G strings, the B and E strings, and then we pair that with our descending shape. And it works great. And that's going to take us to our next idea, which is to do the same exercise but with 7th arpeggios. Check this out. So to get a G major 7 arpeggio, we need to add the major 7th or F sharp to our triad, giving us the notes G, B, D, and F sharp. There are, again, many different shapes we could play, but let's start off with this one, where we're going to play the F sharp or the 7th first. That's at fret 2 of the low E, and then play the G note at fret 3, and then that gives us our B and D at frets 2 and 5 of the A string. We do our over 2 and up 2 rule, and we get that shape on the D and G strings. Over 2 and up 3 this time, and we can play it on the B and E strings. Descending, we add the F sharp to our descending shape. We're going to play G and F sharp at frets 15 and 14 of the E string, D and B at frets 15 and 12 of the B string. We're going to go over 2, down 3. That gives us a G note at fret 12 of the G string. There's G and F sharp, and then we've got B and D on the D string. Over 2, down 2, we've got a G at fret 10 of the A string, G and F sharp, D and B. Cool, right? So how about G minor 7? Well, to get G minor 7, we're going to have to change 2 notes. We know we have to use the minor third or B flat to get a minor arpeggio, but we're also going to have to flatten that major 7 or the F sharp to F or the minor 7. So on the E and A, that would give us frets 1 and 3 on the low E and frets 1 and 5 on the A string. Over 2 and up 2 to the D and G strings. Over 2 and up 3 for the B and E strings. And then coming down, we'd have frets 15 and 13 on the E, frets 15 and 11 on the B string. Over 2 and down 3 for the G and D strings. Over 2 and down 2 for the A and E strings. Now that's good stuff, and it takes us to our last concept. And I'm going to show you how to use this same repeating fretboard idea to easily learn the major scale all over the neck. I'll also show you how to use it to come up with some pretty awesome guitar licks. Well, so far we've discussed triads with the root, third, fifth, and seventh arpeggios where we add the seventh to our root, third, and fifth. Let's get into ingraining the major scale all over the neck by playing some 6-note patterns on 2 strings that we can move all around the neck just like we were moving our arpeggios. We said that the G major scale has the notes G, A, B, C, D, E, and F sharp. If we start at the G on the 3rd fret of the low E string, we can play G, A, and B at frets 3, 5, and 7. And then we can play C, D, and E at frets 3, 5, and 7 of the A string. Guess what happens if we apply our 2 over and 2 up rule? We can play the same notes at frets 5, 7, and 9 of the D and G strings. Take that over 2 and up 3, and we get frets 8, 10, and 12 of the B and E string. So again, we've got an ascending shape we can easily play in 3 octaves. How about descending? We're going to go up to the G at the 15th fret of the E string. We're going to play frets 15, 14, and 12 on the E string, and frets 15, 13, and 12 on the B string. That gives us the notes G, F sharp, E, D, C, and B. So we're going to go over 2 strings from that G on the high E, down 3 frets. That takes us to fret 12 of the G string. Over 2 and down 2, that's going to take us to fret 10 of the A string. Put together the ascending and descending patterns and we have this. Nice. Now let's take those shapes and add in the missing note, ascending and descending. That's going to allow us to play a 3-octave ascending and descending G major scale. Ascending, we had the notes G, A, B, C, D, and E. So we need an F sharp to complete the G major scale. If we play our 6-note pattern ending on E, to get the F sharp, we can just shift up 2 frets to fret 9. And we complete the scale. And guess what? We're already in perfect position to start over with the G at fret 5 of the D string. Play our 6-note shape and shift from E to F sharp at fret 11 of the G string. And we're in perfect position to start over again with the G note at the 8th fret of the B string. Let's take that through all 3 octaves. Now let's turn it around and descend. Our descending pattern had the notes G, F sharp, E, D, C, and B, which means we need an A note to complete the scale, and we can conveniently play the A by shifting down 2 frets from that B, which, as you might guess, it's going to put us in great shape to start the pattern over on the G string at the 12th fret. We play our pattern, shift from B to A at the 7th fret of the D string. We're starting over now with the G at fret 10 of the A string. We're going to end up at the A on the 5th fret of the low E. Now let's combine our ascending and descending shapes to get that 3-octave major scale in both directions. Once we're feeling familiar, we can use this repeating fretboard concept to come up with a pair of legato lines like these and use them to get a Joe Satriani type of a sound all over the fretboard. There are obviously far more scale and arpeggio shapes that you can play. The ones that I showed you today were chosen specifically to illustrate the repeating nature of the guitar neck. We didn't go to Derek Trucks levels of writing out every possibility, but I hope I gave you some good information that's going to help you make much more sense of the fretboard and that it leads to more freedom in your playing. Check out this video if you want to learn even more ways to master the fretboard, and I'll see you soon.